Thank you, sir.
It is really great, but otherwise, when you read about the situation of journalism in the Philippines and of what you were witness of, it is also incredible for a country like Germany, which is a little bit more well-behaved now than the Philippines were in the last years. Could you tell us a bit about how you started this project?
I never really thought of it as a project. I'm a field reporter. So when Rodrigo Duterte was elected in 2016, he made a promise. He said that the fish would feed fat on the corpses of criminals. He said morticians would grow rich with a deluge of dead. And he said, if your neighbor's child is an addict, kill him yourself. It will be a kindness to their parents. So we knew he was going to win. He had promised bloodshed, and we were ready for it. We just didn't expect the velocity. So from the first day he was elected, there were corpses on the ground. And those of us who were on the field kept going back on the field night after night. And then I think on the third year that I was covering, my news agency, Rappler, made the decision that I should not be in the Philippines for a few months. That it would not be in my best interest to be in the same country as the killers and the cops that I had named. We were about to publish a big story. So I went to the US for a fellowship, and the fellowship required that I write the beginnings of a book proposal. I am a very, very good soldier. So I wrote the proposal, and then I came home with a contract. But it seemed like for the 3 years I was on the ground, day after day, week after week, we were answering the questions of who was killed, when were they killed, how many were killed, who was accountable. I think the question, by the time I had time for it, that I wanted to ask for the book, not who or what or when, it was why. Why are we letting this happen? So that's the book.
What is your answer on this question? Because when I've been in the Philippines some months ago, I met some of the most friendliest people I've ever met in the world. And it was incredible how well we were received, how kind everyone was. And then I remembered the stories that I read in your book, and I thought, how could a people so kind like the Filipinos could let something happen like this, especially if, like you're told, it was all announced by the candidate.
How could such nice Americans make decisions like that?
Such nice Germans.
How should Israelis have made decisions like that? The Philippines is not exotic. So what has happened here is the same playbook that has happened with autocrats all over the world, including Germany. So it shouldn't be a surprise that it's possible. In our case, like all autocrats, Rodrigo Duterte was a phenomenal storyteller. He took every fear and every grievance, fueled by decades of failed expectations, and then he gave the enemy a name. He called it the scourge of illegal drugs, and he said he would kill to destroy it. And like every autocrat, the first rule is to make your enemy less than human. He said the people who were killed, they're not the humanity. So no crimes against humanity could ever be committed if the people you kill are not people. He said they were monsters. He said they were madmen. He said that they are the sort of people who would butcher their fathers and rape their sisters, and so bestial, so bizarre, that they would fuck a goat if a goat were all they could find to fuck. And when I swear here, I am swearing as a journalist quoting a president. I do swear on my own, but I'll tell you when I'm doing it.
Why did he pick drug addicts as his public enemy? He could have chosen different groups, of course. There are always minorities where some people are looking down on. And for example, you had very, very difficult conditions in Mindanao, for example, and things like this. Why drug addicts? Because there weren't so many in the Philippines, as I learned from your book.
So the Philippines has less than half the global average when it comes to drug use. But we're also not very evolved when we look at drug addiction as a disease. And because we're not, it was very easy to play off people's ignorance when it came to drugs. Rodrigo Duterte did not believe in rehabilitation. He didn't even believe in restitution. He believed in retribution. And because he was such a good storyteller, he could paint himself too. He said, I am one of you. He said, I'm no one special. He said, I'm just an ordinary killer. Rodrigo Duterte made himself every man, so every man could be Rodrigo Duterte. He was hero, he was savior, he was God, he was father. He was the best president we could ever have. And he was poor, but he was also educated. He was many things and all things all at once. So the Philippines has always been in crisis. And in a moment of crisis, I suppose, among my fellow Filipinos, they look for the iron hand that would save them all.
Before we will hear a short reading out of the book, I'd like to ask you, how could you cope with all these murders there? And another interesting, because I used the word murder, and I learned from your book that murder was not a term that Rodrigo Duterte ever used.
Rodrigo Duterte did not call what he did murder. He likes to use the word kill when he gives his orders. But what happened in the Philippines, the people who were killed by the police, this is not murder. It's justice. Your other question was how?
The question was, how have you been able to cope with all these numbers? How did you get information about who was killed? How did you come to the crime scenes? And how could you be witness to it? Not, of course, of the murders, but afterwards. Why did the police, for example, let you see all the killed people there? Why didn't they just take them away?
You don't believe I'm very charming?
Yes, absolutely.
No, it's standard shoe leather journalism. You go to the crime scene. You ask the questions: who was killed? How many were killed? Was there a gun on the ground? Were the hands bound? Were the feet bound? Was the head wrapped in packing tape? Was there a sign beside the body that says, drug dealer, do not imitate? In the beginning of the war, the police weren't hiding the killings. They were proud of it. Because in order to instill fear, which is what Rodrigo Duterte said he wanted, all I want is to instill fear. You have to demonstrate what that fear is about. The theme of the Philippine Pavilion this year as guest of honor is imagination peoples the air. The true line is imagination peoples the air with specters. Terror people the air during that time. That's why we were allowed to see. So that everyone else could see and say, this is who you can be. This is what will happen to you. In the aftermath, when they were being careful, we just kept going. I'm not the only journalist who did this. We were a community of reporters, filmmakers. There were a lot of priests who were great because they gave sanctuary to families. There were lawyers, civil society members. Everyone banded together. So if there was a police report I couldn't get, I would ask it from someone else. Sometimes I would send a white guy in because they're useful in getting information. Or sometimes I will ask families themselves to get the material. You do whatever you can.
Was it easier for a woman to do research on this? Because normally some men think, well, it's not so dangerous to talk to a woman, or it's charming to talk to a woman.
Philippine journalism is female, so I can't compare.
Lucky you.
My company, Rappler, is mostly female. All our bosses are female. Most of the reporters are female. We did not intend to be mostly female. My bosses tried affirmative action for men. They failed.
So now I kept you a long time waiting for the reading, so please read us some passages from the book.
Is Germany the sort of country I need to offer a trigger warning?
No, you don't.
All right. There you go. There is no blood on the scene. The body had been abandoned at the high point of the bridge in the shadow of the cement wall. He is a big man with big bare feet. He wears red basketball shorts and a sleeveless blue and white jersey. Truck headlights play over the thick plastic tape wrapped around his head like a helmet. Someone had scrawled on the brown cardboard sign left beside him, "Drug pusher. Do not imitate." Camera lights flash. A radio reporter barks a dispatch. 10-wheeler delivery trucks rumble past the crowd of onlookers. The dead man lies perfectly symmetrical, flush against the wall, the still center of the roaring circus that is a Manila crime scene. I am kneeling just outside the yellow tape when I hear her scream. It is a wordless, keening cry. I see her face first, pale in the distance, the blue and red police lights shooting off her hair. She comes running from the bottom of the bridge before flinging herself to the pavement beside me. "Please, let me touch him," she begs the cops. "Why won't you let me touch him?" Her name is Ivy. She says the dead man is her husband. His name is Rene. She knows him by his feet. The investigator tries to cut through the packing tape mask. The scissors break. He takes out a cutter. The blade slices from the edge of an ear and traces the line of jaw and chin and cheek to curve under the other ear. The face underneath is slack and damp. A thin dark line runs over his neck. Rene Desierto had been stabbed 19 times. Cause of death was recorded as asphyxiation by ligature. He had been garroted. His death was an execution. Many things have happened in the years since he died. Ivy lost her job. She tried to cut open her wrist twice. Occasionally, she wrapped her head in packing tape in imitation of her dead husband. She said she wanted to know how it felt. There were days when she believed his death was her fault. She has many reasons. If she had run up the bridge faster, she might have pumped his chest in time. If she had never filed a missing persons report, his killers might have let him live. The last of the reasons comes from their young son. Once, during an argument, Ivy had told Rene she wished he were dead. Their boy remembered. "It's your fault," her son told Ivy. "You wanted Daddy to die." "I'm writing a book," I tell Ivy. "Tell them our story," she says. I see Ivy every few months. I carry a box of chicken for her son, sometimes donuts. She sets an ashtray on the plastic placemat. I push my pack of cigarettes across, along with my recorder. We light up before I press the button. "We're on the record," I say.
Thank you so much. The passages about the aftermath of the killings are really stunning in this book, and they are so touching. What is the aftermath after Duterte left office? How is all this, what you're telling us about, how is it discussed in the Philippines? Is there a kind of course, we know Duterte is in Den Haag at the moment, but he was elected mayor in the city he comes from, so people obviously still like him. Many people like him. So what is the reception of these 6 years?
That's a complex question. The Philippines isn't a single country. We're many countries in one. And the story is different if you talk to a cop, if you talk to a mother who lost her son, if you look at election results, for example. What is clear is this: Rodrigo Duterte may be under trial for crimes against humanity in The Hague, but 2 months after, he was re-elected as mayor of Davao City, where he came from. Does anyone know who the current president of the Philippines is? Who is not Filipino? Well done. Does anyone know who Marcos is? Well done, too. In the 70s and the 80s, the Philippines were under a different dictator. You may know them as the conjugal dictatorship of Ferdinand Imelda Marcos, and unfortunately, the world remembers Imelda for her thousands of shoes. There are more reasons to remember her, and many of them are not good. But when Rodrigo Duterte stepped down, because we don't have re-election for presidency, when he stepped down, the son of Ferdinand Marcos Jr., ran a unity campaign with Sara Duterte, the daughter of Rodrigo Duterte. The son of the dictator and the daughter of the autocrat now run the Philippines. And even with the arrest of Rodrigo Duterte, the support is monumental. The architect of the drug war, his former police chief, is now a senator of the Republic. So there is no one answer to how the aftermath has happened, how these stories are talked about. It depends who you're speaking to. What I can tell you is this. When the announcement came that Rodrigo Duterte was being arrested, the mothers of the dead cried, then sang, then knelt to pray, and then screamed and punched walls. Because you can have more than one feeling at once. They said, we are happy, but not happy. He is in jail. He has due process. Our sons never did. Our fathers never did. Our husbands never did. So closure is not an easy thing to talk about. We will pay for this for generations. The same way we've paid for martial law with the Marcoses for generations. We will have the children of killers, the children of the killed, the children who watched television and said, this is ordinary and this is acceptable. So the book doesn't end with a conclusion because I don't know the answer either.
This is exactly the last question I'd like to ask you. Will there ever be an end to this book? When I compared the English edition to the German one, I saw that you added some parts for the German one with the most recent developments. For example, Duterte being in the Hague and things like this. And will you still be working on it, as the passage you read to us suggests, that you're still in conversations with the victims and their families?
I think the only way you can write a book like this, or even any book, I think, it's not that you own the story, it's the story owns you. We're not reporters, we're not recorders. We're not cameras. We don't publish, then delete. You carry the stories with you. So even if I never write another book, even if I never write another story about the drug war, though I don't think that's possible, I think I'll always be watching. The job is to keep a record. So I'll keep taking a record.
Thank you very, very much. Patricia Evangelista.